Folks, hello, and welcome back to the Danswers podcast. I am your host, Dan Donohue. You might think, Dan, are you in a hotel room on the road? The answer is no. This is actually my new studio. I know we've been gone for a little while, and I've come back with a new studio. Hopefully, you're watching on video. I've decided the location of the new studio should be at the Pittsburgh Sheraton 3 miles away from the airport. This is a decision that was actually made by me and my team. I have a team now. I've been really, and by the way, I am drinking. I've decided to start drinking apple cider YouTube on the podcast. There's a lot of changes that have happened. I've triangulated that the best sound and video quality possible can only happen at the Sheraton 3 miles away from the Pittsburgh airport. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, there's this beautiful low hum of angry white people yelling outside that creates kind of the perfect white noise flush out backdrop for the audio, and just the vast sea of yellow for the Steelers combined with the orange from all of the vomit on the street in this city kind of make this beautiful tinge of light that permeates even inside of the walls of the Sheraton Hotel. So that's why we're here. I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited to be talking to you guys again. We've been on the road, and I've also started to do my new segment, Worth the Watch, which I will obviously continue doing on top of the podcast. But with all of the editing and all of the stand-up comedy that I've had to perform, which has been lovely, and I'll get into that in a little bit, and also the massive gambling debts that I have accrued, it's been hard to do the podcast. Not only because of the time constraint and the locations changing all the time, but because I'm being hunted by a number of Serbian and Chinese men. I decided to get in deep with the Serbians because I thought I figured out video poker. I say I thought I figured it out. I did figure out video poker. Okay? I figured out video poker. The issue is I just didn't have enough time to allow the law of big numbers to take effect. So I'm sitting at the video poker machine in Sacramento, California. I won't say which casino because I am now banned from there. And a man came by, and he said, "I like the way you play." I was positive that he just had an eye for talent. And he started staking me, maybe $100, $200, $300. I played really well. It took me, I made that $300, $400 last at least 5 to 10 minutes. You know, things led to things. I ended up in back rooms. I got a mail order bride named Ivanka. Wink. I start doing political comedy. And then, you get in deep with the Serbians. Who do you go to? You go to the Chinese. It's tit for tat. Things happen. I'm in a hotel in Pittsburgh. Okay, here we are. But no, the shows on the road have been really, really fun. I've really enjoyed. I just got back from Chicago, baby. We did the big city. We sold out 3 out of 5 shows. It's really weird going from because you know me, I ain't no big shot, right? Most shows I go to, I am astounded that they still do the show. I don't know if that's good advertising for my comedy, but hey, it's late at night. we're having a little bit of fun. Sometimes, like I did a show in Charlotte. If you were at the show in Charlotte, shout out those 20 people. You all, I mean, and I gotta say, those are bigger laughs than I got in almost any show I did in Greenville the weekend before, even though there were more people in Greenville. So I don't know how that nets out, but like the people who came out to Charlotte, the small group of them were awesome. But then Chicago was just like 3 out of 4 shows sold out. One of the shows, they told me that because a bunch of people came late, it was the most people that they got in the club, and it is so crazy how quickly your brain will absorb that and then immediately turn it into mediocrity and almost immediately unhappiness. It's almost like almost nothing is connected to material success after a certain level of comfort. Isn't it? Isn't that crazy? How everyone knows this shit, but it's crazy how little it's connected. Like, you'll get a little bit of adrenaline. That's maybe what I got at the shows in Chicago, like a little bit of adrenaline. And it was awesome. I always do actually find real joy in talking to people after the show, which I know a lot of comedians hate, and maybe it's because of a neurological disorder that I have, or this just a deep level of narcissism. But I really do like talking to people after shows who, especially if they're like, oh, I follow you online. It's like, that's awesome. That's awesome that, like, for all the negative technology has given us, at least it gave us that, I get to meet somebody. They're like, I followed you online, and now I'm here in person, and I get to go, wow. Usually when that happens, it's like a terrible date, or worse, you're getting trafficked. If something goes from being online to being in person, either you went to a comedian's show and you like that comedian a lot and you decide to go to the show, or you are involved in trafficking on one end or the other, and either way it's bad. So I'm glad I'm on the side of things. I'm glad I'm on the side of seeing something going from being online to being in person that isn't a bad Hinge date, isn't a bad Tinder date, and you don't end up on a ship. That's like worst case scenario. Oh my God. I mean, getting trafficked in general, no good. But if you end up on a ship, whoo, doggy. Oh boy. Things are looking rough for you. And yeah, so like the highs and the lows lately have been pretty difficult, but the thing is, at least you get highs and lows. You know what I mean? At least you get some highs and lows. That's always something to take, because here's how life usually goes. It's usually you are in this malaise of every day is exactly the same, and you just have to like pull off the road and eat something that you've never had. If you see like a sign for, we made like honey glazed bacon, but then it's something like a honey glazed bacon corn dog, you just get it because you want to feel something. Do you know what I mean? That's when I'm complacent, when I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Oh, food is just there for you. Okay? And luckily, I have a exercise disorder that compensates for my eating disorder. And that, which I'm not recommending. I'm saying, if you have an exercise disorder or an eating disorder, definitely get that fixed. Okay? Definitely get it fixed. But having both does just make you jacked, which is worse. Okay? Because my eating disorder leads to everyone saying how damn odd I am. I do understand a woman's situation in a very minor way because of that. Okay? I'll never know what it's like to be a woman. But I will say we do have vaguely similar body dysmorphias. You know what I mean? I've heard that from so many girlfriends. It's so messed up. It's so goddamn dark where they're like, yeah, at like the peak of my eating disorder, everybody's just telling me how hot I am. Like older women especially. I think that's really the shell game where like, you know, older women will like look at a hot young woman and be like, "Oh my god, you got to stay that way. You got to keep that up, sweetheart. Don't ever lose that." They're just like they've had one grape in 2 days. And like a 50-year-old who's still trying to hang on is like, keep going. Keep going, baby. Ugh, god damn. There were a couple things that I had in mind that I wanted to talk about. One is in Chicago, I tried celebrating my shows going well. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if that's a common problem. I don't know how to celebrate. People are always like, oh, celebrate your victories. I don't know how. I tried going to a bar on a Saturday night. That's not how. That's not how. That's not enjoyable for me. Smelling 300 people at once. Don't need that. I don't need to touch and then smell 300 different people at once. Okay, I'm not Caligula. That doesn't get me going. This is something that's talked about so often, right? That I almost feel hacky for speaking about how I don't like going out to loud, crowded bars. But here's the thing. It's so everyone knows that it sucks. Why are we still doing it? Why are we still doing, or do I just not interact with the people that go to them on a day-to-day basis? Are they off somewhere happy, not talking to me? Do they look at me and go, look at that unhappy fuck. Look at that unhappy schmuck over there. God, he probably doesn't even enjoy being 5 rows back trying to order a dumbass drink that costs $20. He doesn't even enjoy that. He doesn't enjoy the beautiful art of, you know, standing behind a woman and then she starts kind of backing up into you and you go, oh, is this kind of a thing? So you start talking to her, and every time you talk to her, she goes, what? What? And you're like, oh, I said like your hair is so cool, and she's like, what? And that's just the conversation that you have until she finds her friends, and she's like, we're going. Do you want to come? And you've given up at that point. You've given up at that point, and you go back to your apartment, and you do what you knew you were gonna do. That whole night, you go back to your apartment. Boy, oh, and you do what you knew that night was going to end it anyway. You get a big bottle of lotion, and you moisturize your whole body, and you watch Sex in the City, okay? You watch Sex in the City, hammered drunk. And you go, I can't believe Miranda said that. What the hell? Just like watching Sex in the City as an aggressive man. Oh my God, Miranda, shut up. But yeah, I have no idea. I gotta figure that out. That's something I just never figured out, and I gotta say it's probably better than the other, because I think some people find out what they enjoy too much. Right? My dad found out what he enjoyed when he was, I think, about 14 or 15, and that was drinking and pills. And that, you know, he figured out his celebration. Okay? He figured out how he would celebrate his high school basketball championships. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir, he did. But I don't, that bug never got me. Luckily for me. It's a better life, for sure. But part of me, when something good happens, like, I don't like drinking. I don't like, I guess I've liked the drugs that I've tried, but those are like LSD and, or not. This is, by the way, not true. What I'm saying is I'm a comedian, and I'm reading another guy's story that I memorized. So this is a one-man show that I memorized. But the drugs that I've liked are like LSD and mushrooms and stuff, which you can't really do at the end of. I mean, there are actually like beautiful psychonauts out there that are like, "What do you mean, dude? I love taking acid at 10 p.m." And it's like, you've never figured out what those drugs are for. Those are the kinds of people that somehow do mushrooms and come out at the end less certain about who they are. That's a brutal life, isn't it? But I wish it was something, I guess the truth is, I wish I could, like, I don't know. What do I enjoy? Go to an arcade would be nice, but you can't go to an arcade as an adult at 10 p.m. because the adult arcades that are out there are. Hey, by the way, because I've been to them, let's figure it out, right? Let's figure it out, adult arcades, because it's either Dave and Buster's, where it is $10 per game, or you're playing Pac-Man from like 1980, like the old console from 1980, and it's like, listen, I've had a cell phone my whole life. If I look at a screen with less than 1 billion pixels, part of my brain is going to shut off and I'm going to fall asleep while I'm playing the game. Okay? So let's kind of meet in the middle here, guys. Let's figure this out. And dude, oh, I really wanted to talk about this. I go to this bar and there is a security guard that is hassling everybody. And I know it's your job. If you are a security guard, especially at a bar, it is a high-stress job. But I'm going to say something else about security guards. There are security guards who are very cool, tough guys, tough women, right? And they know how to do their job, and they know how to de-escalate. But then there are security guards where they put on the security guard jacket and they go, "Oh, I'm the Terminator now. Oh, wait a minute. I'm John Wick." And it's like, "Oh no, you're a security guard." They're like, "Oh no, I got the jacket on. I know I'm Rambo." And they're like, "No, you are guarding a CVS, actually." It's rare. I like a lazy security guard. I like a security guard where you see them and you go, if something goes down, I'm protecting us both. I love that. Because I know they're not getting paid well enough. I think, damn, this is actually a really great idea that would work and would help everybody. I can't believe I'm about to tell you something that I should not even be giving away for free. They should put the salary of every security guard on the shirt they wear. So it says security, and then it says exactly what they're making, so I know how safe I should feel at whatever building I'm going to. That is so smart. Like, if I go to a bar, like a nice bar, and there's a security guard there, it says, like, security, and then it says, like, what, $90,000 a year, which isn't a crazy amount, but for a security guard, that's pretty good. $90,000 a year. I go, okay, I'm gonna feel safe at this bar. I'm gonna have a few drinks at this bar. This is a bar. I can have a few drinks. I can relax. I can have a good time. But if you go to a bar and security, $12 an hour, you go, I'm gonna keep my wits about me. I'm gonna keep my wits about me at this one. Actually, this seems like a good time to buy one drink and mind my own damn business. There's a few, because I go to clubs all the time, and mostly security at like clubs specifically, really, really nice, really, really chill. Some clubs don't even really have it. Like, they don't need it. Like Zany's in Chicago, I think maybe some of those guys acted as security, but everybody was so chill, like you couldn't even tell, which is great. And then a lot of the times when there's security, I remember this one guy when I was in, I won't say the club, but he comes up to me and he goes, when you're on stage and an audience member gets too rowdy, what do you want the word to be to tell security that you want them out? And I was like, I will say, could you get this person out of here, please? And they were like, no, because like a lot of comedians, they like don't want everyone to know that they got someone kicked out. And I said, I am not one of those comedians. I am happy. Because the thing is, it's like, if I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll change this idea. I don't know. But right now I'm like, if I'm right, then the audience will probably understand, like, oh, yeah, that person was being ridiculous. They needed to get kicked out. And if I'm wrong, then I think, like, I would want to know that I'm getting someone kicked out for, what if I'm on a bad night? What if someone just ordered chicken fingers too loud, and then I use some code word and they get thrown down a chute, like a laundry chute, into an alleyway? Someone's just like, yeah, can I have the Caesar salad? And I'm like, yeah, hey, what's up, snowman? And then I wink at a giant guy, and then he comes and just tosses that person through a plate glass window. Yeah, I'd like to know if I'm going a little too crazy. But he said a lot of comedians will go get this guy a cup of coffee, and that's like the signal to get them out. So if, you know what, I'll use this as a PSA. If you're at a comedy show and the comedian goes, get this guy a cup of coffee, just stand up and leave. I can't believe there are people that have gotten, I mean, there's many people, I know for a fact, there are many people who have gotten thrown out of clubs by security. Knock on wood, even though it will happen, I know eventually. It'll happen eventually to me. But I really, it's never happened to me. It's never happened that somebody has gone kicked out of a show of mine. But there are people walking the earth, roaming the earth, who have been escorted out of a comedy club by security because they were super loud and super obnoxious. And you don't get to know that about them when you meet them right away. That's like probably one of the last things you learn about that person. I'm sure you could tell eventually by talking to them long enough, but it's like that really does, that bothers me. There's people walking around that I've probably dealt with, you know? Maybe they work at the coffee shop I go to, who have, like, thought they should tell the jokes and, like, yelled punchlines from the audience and then got escorted out by security. And while they were getting escorted out, they were like, well, it wasn't funny anyway. Well, this shit wasn't funny. I actually did not enjoy this show. Thank you. But anyhow, I don't know how I got on that tangent. I'm hoping that the show in Philly the show in Philly. Actually, there is no show in Philly, and I can't talk about it further. Maybe later. Oh boy, what am I saying up here? The show in Pittsburgh is going to be really fun, and the show in Boston is going to be really fun. And I'm going to Plano, Texas. I don't know shit about Plano, Texas. I know it's near Dallas. I did a comedy club in Deep Ellum, which I'm really excited about. But I got to say, boy, oh boy, this club in Plano, Texas is scaring the bejesus out of me because it's huge. And when a club is huge, it means if you don't sell enough tickets, it's a bunch of people in a very empty room. It's a bunch of people. Just, the echo. The echo. And then sometimes, like, the people working there, because there's not enough people for them to serve, they'll sit in, like, the seats that are really far back. So you're performing to, like, 40 people in a 380-seat room, but then maybe, like, 20 rows back, there's just like a bored server on their phone. It's so funny. Before I did Chicago, I went to a wedding with my girlfriend, my beautiful, beautiful girlfriend. And I gotta say, she looked lovely. I looked lovely. In a suit that I mostly put together by going to Goodwill and also borrowing a suit jacket from her brother. I gotta say, there are moments in this relationship where me as a man. Now, you all, if you're listening to this, and you've listened this far, you probably know who I am, right? Like, there's certain aspects of masculinity that I think are, a little bit stupid. And there are certain parts of masculinity that, like it or not, my choice or not, I do definitely kind of like naturally fall into. There are certain things that make me feel like a loser as a man. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. I'll tell you the two. One is, I parked my girlfriend's car one time, and I got it towed because I parked it wrong. And so me and my girlfriend have to go now to the DMV, and we have to talk to the guy at the DMV, and I have to go, I parked my girlfriend's car wrong. That felt to me like not just a failure as a person, it felt like a failure as a man, right? Whether or not you think that's silly, whether or not you think that's stupid, I was like, well, I don't know. I feel like part of whatever you want to call it, part of my gender affirmation over here. You know what I mean? That's a nervous tick I have where I have to sound like a guy in the mafia every time I get uncomfortable at something I'm saying. But like part of how I feel good is knowing what to do, doing it right, and making sure that she's good. Right? Whether that be fixing something in her apartment, which I love doing. That makes me feel great. If I can put together a piece of furniture in her apartment, or I can put up like an AC unit in her apartment, which I did pretty recently, that makes me feel great. Even though it doesn't seem like it's making me feel great while I'm doing it. The reason it doesn't seem like it's making me feel great while I'm doing it is because whenever I'm fixing something in her apartment, I become my dad. That sucks. I am sorry that happens. I don't know what it is. I think it's because I think that fixing stuff gives me license to be an asshole, because it's like, oh, I'm already doing something for you, so I get to be an asshole while I'm doing it. Let me tell you folks something. If that is your mindset, cut it out. Cut it out. Don't do it. Don't fall for that. Do not fall for that. It sucks. It's bad. If you're going to do something nice for somebody, try to be nice while you're doing it, and then the whole situation feels good. The whole situation leaves you feeling nice. Because otherwise, what'll happen is the situation, you'll fix something in the apartment, and your girlfriend will be like, well, that was nice that now my AC unit is installed, but I don't know why you were yelling so loud when you said you needed a Phillips head and not a flat head. I don't know the difference. Don't yell at me. And you go, absolutely. For some reason, for 5 to... No, I'm not 5. For 30 to 40 minutes while I was installing that AC unit, I was my dad. Yikes. We don't want that, do we, folks? No. We do not. But anyway, I'm putting together the suit for the wedding by going to a Goodwill and doing the most pathetic thing. It's so pathetic. But I just didn't really at the time, not that I don't have any money. I'm not like destitute or anything, but at the time, just the way that money was coming in, because it doesn't come in regularly for me, I just didn't have like the amount of money I would want to spend on a nice suit. So I do what stupid people do, where there's a thing that they should buy, and they should buy the nice version of it and have one nice version of this thing. Is I go, what if I take the same amount of money and over the course of a few years buy a ton of terrible versions of this thing, right? I did that with watches. I was like, I probably want to get a good solid watch, but instead, I'm going to buy a bunch of really terrible watches that break before I just buy a watch that makes me feel good, right? I do it with shoes. I do it with every form of clothing. These jeans got sent to me for free by a company that probably made them out of asbestos. And I should buy just a solid... I shouldn't say that, by the way, because I have really liked these jeans so far. I might actually give these jeans a shout-out later on my social media because I feel bad about saying that. But you know what I'm saying. I should get some real denim jeans, couple $100, folks. Couple $100. And I know some of you go like, oh, a couple $100, and it's like... make it good and that it lasts, right? I should have just bought a Rolex. I should have just drained my entire bank account and then some and then some more and bought a Rolex, right? No, that's going too far, of course, maybe. But so I'm putting together this suit, which I've done this before. I've done this exact thing before. I'll go to a Goodwill, and instead of going to a regular store and buying one nice suit, I buy a pair of suit pants for $30 and a suit jacket for $30. And because Goodwill's expensive now. I don't know if you know that, but it sucks, especially in LA. And then I'll buy a shirt for whatever, and none of it fits, and none of it goes together, and it all looks terrible. So I got a suit jacket and suit pants, and I bring it up to the person working at the Goodwill. And I go, hey, do you think this matches? And they look at it and they go, no. And I got so defensive. I was like, not really. I didn't say it, but in the back of my head, I was like, what do you know? And then I realized, oh, this person absolutely does know because they work at a Goodwill. They have to put suits hodgepodge together all the time for people that, you know, have custody hearings for their kids. That, or, you know, they want to see if they're going to get parole or jail time. The Goodwill, honestly, like, I don't know how people would get by without Goodwill, because that is an awesome thing that it does. If you need a suit, I kind of feel bad that I took a suit jacket from Goodwill. There's a guy who wants to see his kids at least every other weekend that now doesn't have a suit jacket. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. If you're listening to this in your efficiency apartment, eating cereal but with water in it because you forgot to buy milk because you don't really know how to do anything for yourself because those years kind of went by when you got that woman pregnant when you were like 20, and you didn't even really like her that much, and boy did she not like you, but that's just how it worked out. And you weren't really religious, but you were vaguely religious enough to go, well, I guess I won't push the issue when she says she wants to keep it. And then obviously your relationship becomes strained because you two never had anything in common with each other. And you realize slowly maybe it's better to have this kid be raised in two separate households with two parents that are at least looking for love than two people who have completely given up on the notion and are slowly just becoming more and more resentful from each other, right? If you're listening to this, that guy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for taking your suit jacket. And I hope you get at least every other weekend with those kids. Unless that's too much for you. But the whole time I was putting the suit together, I was like so frustrated for no reason. Because I'm a baby. That's why, honestly. It's because I'm a baby. It's because I had one responsibility, which was put together this suit, get a jacket, get a pair of pants, get some shoes. You are a grown-up. You are 29 years old. You loser. These are the things I say to myself. But as I'm putting it together, I'm being this like petulant little baby, and I'm like texting my girlfriend, and I'm like, I can't believe they're making me get a suit for this. I can't believe they're making me. It's like you're a 29-year-old. You haven't had a job for like 2 or 3 years because you lucked out with comedy. Just get a suit and shut up. But sometimes you just give into it. Sometimes you give into your like bratty little stupid brain. And you got to just roll with it. And it's like I try to not be too hard on myself for it, but I think that also you should be a little hard on yourself sometimes, huh? We don't talk about that a lot, do we? Here's the issue with this is going to be an opinion that nobody likes, which I do have a lot of those, and this is one of them. The issue is the people who are vocal about sensitivity, the people who are vocal about how important sensitivity is, which, by the way, it is very, very important, and we live in a society that rewards people who numb themselves. So people who are vocal about sensitivity are doing a great service. But the issue is the people who are vocal about sensitivity tend to have a hard time talking about the fact that sometimes it actually is kind of important to be a little hard on yourself. Sorry. There's that poem like let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And that's great, but you're not, and if you don't have any aspirations, which I'm not saying that as an insult. There's a lot of people I know who don't really have any aspirations. They have something worse. They have this like, they think they need aspirations, so they have these fake kind of put on aspirations, and it's like, Doug, you don't want to be a singer. You literally don't. There's so many people in stand-up comedy like that, where it's like they just go to open mics, and maybe they'll be on a show every now and again, but they don't really want to do it. They just think they need something to want to do. But it's like, listen, you don't have to have that. But if you do have an aspiration like that, you got to be a little hard on yourself sometimes. That's just the whole and half of it. I'm not saying don't beat yourself up. Don't like make it so. But you know how like every coach is a little hard on the players. Some of them are very hard on the players. Some very successful coaches are very hard on the players. And that's a indisputable, like, the thing about sports is, like, there are statistics that show, like, success and achievement. The question is that worth it? Is it worth it to be a certain amount of hard on yourself to get a certain outcome? You're the judge of that. Right? But I remember when I was younger and I was going to this school, I was at this middle school called St. Andrews, and it was like a private middle school for kids who had learning disabilities, or mostly geared towards kids who had learning disabilities. And they had this woman come in who was basically like a group therapist for all of us. It's a weird, it was a weird upbringing. And I didn't like her very much. And it wasn't because she was mean or rude or whatever, but it was because she didn't want to confront the fact that the world is a hard place and sometimes sensitivity isn't enough. Sometimes you do have to be a little bit hard on yourself. I'm choosing my words very carefully here because I don't want to sound like one of these people. I don't want to sound like David Goggins or whatever, being like, you got to break your legs every day. You got to break every bone in your body every day if you want to understand what it is to be a human. That's not correct either. But can we say it lies in the middle, folks? But like, yeah, I was being a little bit petulant putting the suit together. But I learned something there, and I think what I learned, and this is my takeaway, and this is how I'll end the pod, is just like, when you're doing something for someone else, remember that you're doing it for them, and not just so you can put a check mark in the box of, oh, well, I did something for someone else. Like, have a little bit of a deeper connection to it. Do you know what I'm saying? Have a deeper connection to how you want to approach that person. You know what I mean? And how you want them to feel about you. And how much you feel about them. You know what I mean? Like, if you're doing something good for somebody, it should be because you like them and not because you want to put a check mark in the I did something good box, good boyfriend box, check mark. It's like, we don't need that. Thank you for listening. Please see me on tour. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Subscribe if you're on Spotify. I'm going to put this up on Spotify. Boy, this is going to be a nice surprise for some people who have been waiting for the podcast. And some people just haven't been waiting for the podcast. Some people have been off doing their own thing. And I don't know if the podcast is going to be successful, but I did really like doing this episode, I'll be honest with you. So this is great. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. As always, have a good one.